Good morning. Today we're going to be talking about some of the new features that you're going to be finding in Dynamics Nav 2016. Most of you who might be on the webinar already know who I am. Just in case you don't, here is the link to Intelice's website where you can contact us, and this is my direct email address as well as my direct line number. I'm going to be presenting this again at the end, so if you don't catch it now, you can write it down then. Otherwise, I also believe that we're going to be making this slide deck available to everybody, and also it's being recorded for your use in the future. Some of you that might be on the line have not made the transition to NAV 2016 yet. This is a preliminary view of what some of the icons will be looking like. The first one on the left is the one that you would be accessing the client, what you see every day when you log into NAV, and the other two is just the development environment and an administrative tool, which is kind of in the background, which your day-to-day users don't use or see, but just wanted to give you a little bit of a glimpse of what everything looks like. Okay, on the agenda today, this is the order in which we're going to be talking about things. First, we're going to be talking about deferrals, currency exchange updates, which can be set up to happen automatically. Also, there is a job queue where we can set up reports to run automatically and appear in an inbox on your desktop. And then we're going to be talking about very high level, very simplistic functions of the incoming document feature that's now available in standard NAV. So our first topic is going to be deferrals. I just want to briefly talk about deferrals. Most everybody on the line should know what they are. But the deferrals are when you receive an invoice or send an invoice, expense or revenue, where you need to pay it or receive payment all at one time, but then the actual expense or revenue needs to be spread out in future periods. Examples of those include like insurance premiums, subscriptions, maybe even like a prepaid rent or maintenance contract. A lot of times each one of those or one of those might be for like a 6-month or a 12-month premium. You need to pay it today, but you're not going to recognize the expense or the revenue until a future period. These deferral features are available on your sales documents, your purchase documents, and your general journal lines. Now, your general journal lines include just regular general journals, your sales journals, purchase journals, and so on. Okay, initially I'm just going to show you in the slide deck some of the areas where you would go in NAV, and then after I go through a couple of these steps, I'm going to bring NAV over, and then we will go into NAV, and I'll show you firsthand the same exact areas that we're going to be discussing on the slide. So first of all, the first step, specifically with using deferrals, you're going to have to set up a template. This is, a lot of areas in NAV, you have different setup areas. So what you would do is you would do a search on deferral template, and then you would initially see a list that looks something like this. For all of my users who have not used it yet and don't have it set up, this list would ordinarily be blank. I'm using a sample company here, so you'll, in the sample companies, you'll see some set up. So when you select new, you would get a deferral template card that opens up, and then each one of these fields would need to be filled out by the user. The code is just something that you would reference, and you'll see in just a moment where we would use the code to pull in on either like a sales line or a journal line. The description is just something that's a little bit more descriptive of the type of template that you want to use. In your deferral account number here, you're going to want to put the account number that's either your balance sheet or your balance sheet item, whether if it's a prepaid expense, it's going to be an asset, and if it's a deferred revenue, this would be a liability account. Now, if you have several prepaid or several deferral accounts, you will need to set up a separate deferral template card for each one of the different prepaid or deferral accounts that you have. Also, if you have deferrals that would run over different period lengths, you're going to need to set up separate ones for those also, because also another field on the card is the number of periods that this would need to be deferred out. There's a few different calc methods that you would use, and they're specified over here, the current options that are available. This is the first iteration of the deferral options, so in the future I would hope that maybe they might enhance this based on user feedback. You can also specify different start dates, and these are the options that are available in the start dates. This period description here, this is going to be the actual description that's going to post on your future entries when your sales invoice or purchase document is posted. You can see here I have a %4 and a %6, and I'll show you in just a moment when we get into Nav exactly what that's going to do. But the %4 is going to spell out the period month, and %6 is going to be the year that this is posted. If you opt to get a copy of the slide deck, this right here is a URL to help that will explain what all of the different options are for these abbreviations that you can put in here. Okay, so once we have our deferral template set up, the next thing you would want to do is to add it to a line, either a journal line or a line on a sales or purchase document. In this example here, I have set up a sales invoice. This particular sales invoice has a posting date of November 17th. I have this same invoice set up in Nav, and in just a moment when we go through this, I'll go into Nav and show you this. Now, when you're actually entering your sales line, you want to put the revenue, or in the, if you're using a purchase document, you would put the expense that you want this to go to in the future. Put in the total amount of the invoice that you're paying, and then there's a new field that's going to be available that's called the Deferral Code. This is where you would enter each one of those codes or the respective code for this line based on how you want this to be deferred out. Once this is all entered, you can see here this little line option. I have it blown up a little bit here. Once you have a deferral code set up on the line, you can go and look at the schedule and the dates that it would be posted out to. So once you hit this option, this window would open up. I set this up so that it starts deferring on the 1st of the next month. So you can see here my start date says December 1st, and I have $1,900 on this line that's being deferred. So it breaks that out evenly over the next 3 periods that I've specified. So now let me bring over a Nav, and I can show you firsthand how this looks in a live Nav environment. So for those of you who are on older versions of Nav, if you're on version 9 and above, or version 6 or 2009 and above, this might have a little bit similar look and feel, but the ribbon is probably new to just about everybody. And if you're on versions older than version 6 or 2009, this probably looks completely different to you. So here is that invoice that I had set up that I had showed in the slide deck. I'm just going to go in to edit this invoice, and I'm going to bring that invoice over here, and you can see here where I have the revenue account set up, the unit price for that, and then my deferral code. And then if I select this, you can see that same list that I had shown in the screenshot. So now this is where I can go to the line, my deferral schedule, and I can see that schedule that I had shown you. Now another thing, this is another new feature in Nav where you can preview the actual posting of it. Previously, all you used to have are test reports that just validated a lot of the information on here, but now you can actually see the physical journal entry that's going to be posted with this. So I'm going to go into Preview Posting, and I'm going to look at the GL entry that's going to post, and I'm going to hit Show Related Entries. So you can see here now, when I post this, my November posting is going to hit my receivable account and then my deferred account. And then you can also see where in December it's going to debit my deferral and credit the revenue that I specified on the invoice line. And here's an example of that posting description that I had shown before. December is being spelt out based on the setting that I had put there for %4, and then the year is indicated. And then you can see my January and my February entry out here as well. Another tip that I want to show you is I've already posted this identical invoice in the system. I'm going to go into the customer balance, and here's that invoice right here. Now, when I did the post preview on this invoice, I saw 8 entries listed there. A lot of my users rely on Navigate very heavily throughout the system, so if I go into this particular invoice and go on Navigate, you can see here that my GL entry only shows 2 entries. This Navigate feature is based on the combination of the document date and the posting date. because only 2 of the entries have a posting date of November, that's why this is only reading 2. So if I did want to go back and see all of my deferral entries that are associated with this particular invoice, I could delete my posting date here and then go to my Find icon up here and hit Find, and then you can see that my GL entry changes to 8. And then I can go to my Show Related Entries, and these are actually all of my posted entries that are here. So you can see the original $1,900 that went to receivables and deferrals, and then the relief of all the deferral entries. So I'm going to back out of all that. Come back to the slide deck. And then just this is a brief recap of what we just talked about here and a few other tips associated with deferrals. All of the deferral templates are available to set up as default on GL accounts, resources, and items. There are a lot of clients out there who use resources specifically on sales invoices and items on purchase invoices, and there might be specific prepaid accounts or revenue accounts that might be deferral accounts, so that would streamline some of your data entry. One thing that I do want to note is when you're posting your document or your entry, it will also post those future items at the same exact time. So whoever the user is that's going to be doing the posting, you need to make sure that the user setup or your general ledger is set up so that they have access to all of those future periods that your deferrals will be posting to. Also, prior to posting the document, when I went into that deferral schedule screen, if you want to manage that or change the amounts and distribute them differently or put them to different periods, you can do that right in that deferral schedule, and then there was a little icon there that said to calculate if you wanted to change it for different periods. This is what I just showed you when viewing your deferral code, viewing Navigate on any document that had a deferral code included. You can remove your posting date field and select your Find icon, and then you can see all the posted GL entries that were posted with that particular document. One thing that I also want to mention is if you use a copy document feature and you're copying a document that included a deferral code, when you copy the document, it's going to copy it exactly like it originally was. So you just need to make sure that the posting date and the deferral schedule that's included on there is what you actually want to post. One other nuance with using deferrals, if you're in an environment where you use foreign currencies on any of your sales invoices or purchase documents, again, just want to reiterate, this posts that to the future. Obviously, we don't know what exchange rates are going to be in the future. So in practice, anyone who's using foreign currencies should be running the adjust exchange rate function before you close and publish all of your financial statements to make sure that you have all of your general ledger entries are booked to realize any gains or losses or changes in fluctuations in currency exchange rates. So on the subject of currency exchange rates, the next topic is the functionality to automate updating currency exchange rates. Right now, unless you have purchased, if there is anybody out there that is using currency exchanges, you're either doing it manually every day, which is just, it's not difficult, but it's a really tedious process, or you've had to purchase a service to use to update the currency exchange rates. In Nav, now there is a service. There are 2 free services that come available with the new version. When we first stand up the 2016 database, you will see one service that's called ECB, and that one is driven off of the euro. And then Yahoo also has a free exchange rate service. When you open up and edit one of these, you will see information relative to that. There's a URL that's identified that kind of reaches out to an XML file, and then you have to do some mapping in Nav. Only one service can be enabled at a time. In this example, because we're US-based, I have the Yahoo exchange rate service shown here. When you enable the one service, there's also like this job queue area where you could see that there is a service that's set up that will update the currency exchange rate. You want to make sure that this one is set to ready. You'll also want to go in to edit this card and indicate how often you want the exchange rate services to be updated. And in the example that I have shown here, I have it updating Monday through Friday, just the ordinary time frames that you would be inputting your invoices or credit memos. Now, on the free services, these only update once a day, so I don't think you would want this to update more than once a day. If you were to get a paid service affiliated with this and they updated the rates numerous times during the course of the day, on this setup you can see over here on the right hand side there's a starting time and an ending time and the number of minutes between run times. So you might want to set this to 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and put 60 minutes here, and then what would happen is on your currency exchange rate table it would just overwrite and update several times during the course of the day. So let me just bring over Nav again, and I will just show you. So I'm going to do a search on currencies, and I'm going to show the currency list here, and you can see that my currencies have been updating and they're current, and this was done automatically. I am using the Yahoo service, and like I said, it's a free service, so there are some limitations to it. Specifically, one of the limitations with the Yahoo one is there's just a handful of currencies that they update. So some of our users might have to get a paid-for service that's leveraged here, because you can see some of these have really old dates, and that's the last time that they were entered. And then I have one or two in here where it has an older date other than today, so I'm not quite sure if that means that they stopped offering that service or there just hasn't been a currency update. I haven't looked at it that closely, but then you can see all of these others here are available, and then right from my currency exchange table I can click here and see the services that I have set up. Okay, so that's about all the setup that's required here. It seems a little simple, but if you do need to use a paid-for service or want to leverage the internal one that's available here, the free service, we'd be happy to help you with any of that setup. If there's any further questions, my email address is on there, or you can contact any of the other consultants that you might be dealing with at Intelice to help you out. Also, with the job entries, there's the capability to set up reports that will automatically be run on schedules that you can identify within Nav. So I'm going to show you the different pieces, and we're going to get a little bit technical here, but I just want full disclosure on everything that needs to be set up. So again, there's a job queue area in Nav where you would indicate a service, and that service is related to the client services that make Nav talk to the server. Then you would identify what service you would need here, and this is where you might need our help, or we would work with your internal IT staff, because using these services you might have that already specified to run something else. We might need to set a different one up, and that would be, this is really areas that are very transparent to the users, and we'd be happy to help you out or work with your internal IT staff to get this done. But just in the essence of full disclosure, this is where the Nav, this resides on the Nav server, and this is the service that would need to be set up. And this is information that you can pass on to your internal IT person, or again, we can work with you. There's a tab here that's called Nav Services, and it would need to be set up exactly like this. We're in this startup argument. You would put this information job queue in this code unit. You would select the Edit tab to change that information, and you would need to use caution, if you're going to have your internal IT person do this, because if you do any edits to this service, you need to restart it. And when it's restarted, if there are any users that are logged into Nav, they're going to be kicked out. So you would either need to have a scheduled downtime, or you would need to do this after hours, either one. And again, can't say it often enough, we'd be happy to help you with this and either do this for you or coordinate with your internal IT staff to make this happen. Okay, so some of the features and things that you would need to know in order to set up a job queue, and this is information that everybody on the call should be able to identify and find themselves if you're in the current version of Nav. In the current versions of Nav, when you launch a report, you almost always get some sort of an options window that opens up where you can specify aging date, put filters, and then indicate whether you want to print to PDF, so on or so forth. On this particular page that opens up, when you select a report to run, in the top left-hand corner of the page, there's what's called a Nav Application Menu. So when you hit this little down arrow in the dark blue box, this other window opens up and you have an option to go to Help and About This Page. When you select that option, About This Page, this other window opens up, and right here, 10040 is the specific report number. Now here I'm showing an aged account receivables, and obviously this number would be different based on the report that you have chosen that you want to run. You're going to need to write this number down because you're going to need this piece of information to set up the job queue entry. In the job queue entry screen, when you first come in here, you would want to, when you're in Nav, do a search on job queue entries, and then you would see a page and a list that looks similar to this. I already have one set up. When you set up a new one, you would hit the new icon on your ribbon up above, and it's going to open up a window that looks like this. If you want a report to recur every day, you would set it up very similar to what I have here. You would need to select the object to run is a report, and that report number that I indicated that you need to write down in the previous slide, this is where you would enter that here. You could just manually type it in, or this is a pull-down box where you can search from the report from the list. The information in blue is going to automatically populate. The description that you see here is one that you can manage. And I would put something in here that would be a little bit more intuitive or informative if this description doesn't work for you, because you can run multiple iterations of the same exact report. Here is the start date or the time each day that it's going to run. And again, you can have this recur on different schedules. I have this set up so it runs every single day, Monday through Friday. Now this report request page option, again, this will open up and let you preview that options page that opens up. So I just picked the accounts receivable report here because this is a report that I find that people commonly complain takes a long time to run. So this would be a great report that you would use on a scheduler. But let's say you had a bunch of different customer posting groups. So this is where you might want to use your report request page to open this up and specify the filter that you want in this report. And then I would put in the description what that filter is so that when you see this in the inbox, you know which report this is. I selected a report type of PDF. One thing I want to note specifically about date-sensitive reports, because the AR report is a date-sensitive one, you specify the date that you want the aging to be as of. Even if you put today's date in this request option page, running the report every day doesn't automatically update that report. There needs to be a line of code or two that we can help you with to import it so that every time this report is run, it uses the current system date. And that's the way you would get the most current aging report as it runs every day. Once that you've passed this time frame every single day, there's a report inbox in your desktop, and it looks something like this in the left-hand side of your home screen. So don't forget to change your inbox every day. So I'm going to bring back Nav here, and I'm going to hit Shift F12 to get to my home screen, and you can see down here where in my report inbox I'm getting reports every day, and I have my last iteration was run yesterday at 3:36, so I have a PDF version of my aging, and if I click on that, it opens it up in a PDF format. And then if I click on the Word version, it opens it up in a Word version, and you can save these and send these straight from here, and then when you're finished using them, you can just simply delete them from your list. Okay, now I'm going to talk briefly about incoming documents. This incoming document has several different features built into it. I'm just going to talk about the very simplest feature that's involved with the incoming documents. In standard Nav in the past, there really hasn't been an ability to attach soft copies to your purchase documents or your sales documents or your general journal entries. So now when you're putting in a general journal entry or you're entering a sales invoice, sales credit memo or a purchase invoice or a purchase credit memo, you now have this little back box over on the right-hand side where it's called incoming documents. And it's just as easy as attaching a file, navigating to your file, and attaching a soft copy to it. You could do this before or after the entry is posted. If you choose to attach this entry before you've posted it, this incoming document follows the posted entry, and when you drill down on the general ledger entry, you'll be able to view it from the posted entry as well. You'll also find on your posted entries, when you navigate on it, if you've attached an incoming document, there's going to be another line that's going to be on your navigate screen just indicating that there is a document there. There's a lot of other features that are available in the incoming document feature, and we're going to be exploring those in our next webinar. Thank you, and I hope to see you guys next month in our next webinar.